When you look at the many ubiquitous character archetypes featured in fighting games, from luchadors to Native Americans to schoolgirls, none are more specific a concept than the Bruce Lee homage. Well, maybe the brainwashed blonde assassin with amnesia and a skin-tight blue adjacent outfit, but that's for another time. It's easy to see why characters inspired by Bruce Lee are so common in fighting games, given the massive impacts the man had on kung fu cinema over the course of his relatively short-lived career. But it's also notable for how many of them there are compared to characters based on other real-life figures. We have a couple of Jackie Chans, a Wesley Snipes, a Jean-Claude Van Damme, and a few based on fighting champions, but unless you include direct transplants of historical figures in there, even the total number of others pales in comparison to Bruce's influence. The Bruce Lee homage has a number of commonly recurring aspects derived from the man that aren't necessarily universal, but are common enough to be considered the core essentials a character needs a few of to qualify for the title. These traits can be roughly split into two categories: combat and aesthetic. For combat, we have Bruce's own fighting style, Jeet Kune Do, one-inch punch, arguably Bruce's most iconic technique and commonly utilised as a powerful short-range strike by his imitators, the flying kick, which is almost the exact opposite of the one-inch punch, and affiliation with nunchaku, which doesn't strictly need to be used in-game, but they sometimes are. For aesthetic, we have shirtless costumes, that specific wiry physique, the iconic yellow and black tracksuit from Game of Death, dragons in clothing and or battle effects, since two of the characters in his Chinese screen name mean Little Dragon, his Chinese nationality, the bowl haircut, the nose flick, and his high-pitched battle cries that were apparently dubbed in by someone else originally. These are the main traits we'll be looking at today to try and figure out which Bruce Lee homage in fighting games is the most Bruce. I'm going to keep this limited to fighting games, so no Rock Lee, Hitmonlee, or Kenshiro, nor Dragon Chan because Punch-Out isn't a fighting game, nor ironically Bruce Lee himself because UFC isn't a fighting game. So where do we start if not the most obvious Bruce Lee homage? Fei Long from Street Fighter. Jeet Kune Do. His fighting style is Hiten Ryu, which is basically Jeet Kune Do in style if not in name, but it doesn't have the name, so no. One-inch punch. He concludes his Geki Rinken super with the move. Flying kick. A number of his specials and supers, such as Reku Kyaku and Reka Shingeki are/include one. Nunchaku. His SF2 normal victory pose. Shirtless. His classic look featured in all appearances thus far. Physique. Yes. Tracksuit. Never in the games, but the Udon comic series did put him in it once. Dragons. Fei Long is Chinese for flying dragon, yet I've never known him to be associated with dragons otherwise. Nationality. Born in Hong Kong. Bowl cut. Always has, probably always will. Nose flick. His intro in SF4 ends with one, and he does it in his Super SF4 ending. Battle cries. Yep. Bonus points. He is an actor like Bruce was. His Kato-inspired outfit in Street Fighter 4. This costume from the start of Enter the Dragon, with the claw marks from later in the film, netting in 2 points. His round end line, "Don't contemplate, perceive," comes from Bruce's "Don't think, feel" from Enter the Dragon. He does the finger wag from Way of the Dragon in the Alpha series. Total points, 17. While Fei Long is the most obvious Bruce Lee homage, Mortal Kombat's Liu Kang is easily the most notable, having probably the most appearances of any character on this list. Jeet Kune Do, presumably in most appearances, but definitively in Deception and Armageddon. One-inch punch, the finishing blow of his Burnout fatality in MK11. Flying kick, so essential to his character that he beat MK1's final boss with it, and this has remained canonical ever since. Nunchaku, his weapon style in Deception and Armageddon, and a bunch of his moves in MK11. Shirtless, his iconic style, and even when not his default, he always has the option. Physique, sometimes, others he's just generically muscular. Tracksuit. Strangely, no. The closest is an alternate colour scheme in MK11, but that doesn't count. Dragons. His fireballs are usually shaped like them, and he can transform into one. Nationality. Born in China. Liu Kang. Shaolin monk. The youngest, but also the fastest warrior in the tournament. Bowl cut. Official artwork of his MK1 self depicts him with more of a mullet, but his in-game appearance does greatly resemble one. I'm willing to give him the point. Nose flick. MKX and 11 victory poses. Battle cries. Arguably the most well-known example of it outside of the man himself. Bonus points. He does the finger wag in his MKX round loss animation. Some games give him the phone fingers. Total points, 13. My personal favourite of the homages, and my main ever since I first played the series, is Jan Lee from Dead or Alive. Jeet Kune Do, of course. One-inch punch, the connecting hit of his DOA 5 power blow. Flying kick. He did it on a T-Rex once and it was awesome. Nunchaku shows off his skills in DOA 3, 4 and 5. Shirtless. His default roughly 50% of the time, but always an option. Physique. There's no better game version than his DOA 3 ending. Tracksuit. Every appearance since DOA 4 has had one. Dragons. Probably has the most outfits with dragons on them out of all of these guys, and it's been his nickname since DOA 3 and in the names of a bunch of his moves. Nationality. Chinese. Bowl cut. Nope, always spiky. Nose flick. A bunch of times across the series. Battle cries. Probably the loudest guy here. Bonus points. Lee is his surname. He canonically grew up watching Bruce Lee movies, inspiring him to become stronger. His white vest from one of his DOA 2 costumes is reminiscent of Way of the Dragon. He quotes Bruce's "Don't Think, Feel" line in DOA 3. He has a victory pose in DOA 3 based on the iconic dojo fight from Fist of Fury. He did the finger wag in DOA 3. He does the phone fingers regularly. Total points, 18. Kim Dragon from World Heroes is the original Bruce Lee homage, predating Liu Kang by 2.5 months. Jeet Kune Do. His style is listed as Kung Fu. It's probably based on it, but I can't give him the point for a probably. I will give a bonus point for him creating his own style, however. 1-inch punch. Not as far as I know. Flying kick. Most of the artwork he appears in uses this. Nunchaku. Nope. Shirtless. His only ever costume. Physique. The best 2D rendition. Tracksuit. For the aforementioned reason, no. Dragons. In the immortal words of Al Murray,
the clue is in the fucking name!
Nationality. Half Korean, but also half Chinese, and he was born in China, so he gets the point. Bowl cut. Yep. Nose flick. In his intro. Battle cries. Yep. Bonus points. He's an actor like Bruce. One of his victory poses comes from Fist of Fury. The other seems to come from Enter the Dragon. Total points, 12. On the subject of firsts, Tekken's martial law was the first such character I was ever exposed to and was actually my favourite Tekken character as a kid. Jeet Kune Do. Yes. 1-inch punch. He does it to Feng Wei in the latter's Tekken 7 ending. Flying kick. Most notably in the Tekken 3 intro. Nunchaku. He shows off his skills with them in his Tekken Tag Tournament 2 ending and a Tekken 7 intro. Shirtless. Every primary costume in the series bar one where it was his alternate. Physique. Yes. Tracksuit. A recurring costume since Tekken 6. Dragons. They've adorned his pants since Tekken 5 and he was apparently conceived under the name Lord the Dragon. Nationality. American of Chinese descent. Bruce was a Chinese man born in America, so I'll let him have this one. Bowl cut. He kind of has his own take on it, but he wore it straight in Tekken 1. It's also a customization item sometimes. Nose flick. In Feng Wei's Tekken 7 ending. Battle cries. Supposedly done by Katsuhiro Harada since the beginning. What? Bonus points. His post-time skip chest scars are a nod to Enter the Dragon. This victory pose is from the same film. He uses his index finger instead of his thumb, but he does do the phone fingers in his fighting stance. And he did the finger wag in Paul's Tag 2 ending. Total points, 16. Where to next if not Marshall's son, Forest Law, who was meant to replace him but was replaced right back one game later. Jeet Kune Do, with his father's exact moveset naturally. 1-inch punch. I think the poison arrow move is meant to be a quick one. Flying kick, inherited from his dad. Nunchaku. He bungles it the second he gets them, so I'd say that's a no. Shirtless. Only in Tekken Tag Tournament 1. Physique. He's built on his dad's models. Tracksuit. A sleeveless variant, but I'll count it. Dragons. On the back of his primary costume like a Yakuza tattoo. Nationality. Same as his dad. Bowl cut. In a slightly more classic style than his dad originally, but it's since gone the same way as his. Nose flick. In a solo Tag 2 intro. Battle cries. I think they're recycled from his dad. Bonus points. He does the same phone fingers as his dad. He can get a chest wound like Enter the Dragon in Tag 2. His white vest from Tekken 3 is a nod to Way of the Dragon. His primary costume is a nod to Enter the Dragon. Total points, 15. Honfu from Fatal Fury is next. Jeet Kune Do. Surprisingly, no. Instead, he uses Nunchaku. 2 sets even. 1-inch punch. Not to my knowledge. Flying kick. Not to my knowledge. Shirtless. Always wearing a vest, but not a white one. Physique. Not always drawn that way, but he usually is. Tracksuit. It's SNK, only like 5 characters are allowed to change clothes. Dragons. No. Nationality. From Hong Kong, so yes. Bowl cut. Similar, but not quite. Nose flick. Nope. Battle cries. Yep. Total points, 4. And then we have the most blatant example of this, Long from Xuando Ji Wang, I'm not doing that again, who is canonically a clone of Bruce Lee. Jeet Kune Do. Yes. 1-inch punch. Not to my knowledge. Flying kick. A diagonal one. Nunchaku in some of his attacks. Shirtless, in his official art at least. Physique, in the aforementioned art it's quite apparent. Tracksuit, his main outfit. Dragons, long means dragon, and his hidden esoteric is called Flying Dragon in the Sky. Nationality, Chinese. Bowl cut, naturally. Nose flick, in the intro cinematic. Battle cries, of course. Bonus points, he's an actor. Has chest scars like in Enter the Dragon. He does the phone fingers in his main art. Total points, 14. A late addition to this video is Lee Daolong from Breakers. Jeet Kune Do. His style is called Empty Fists, so no. 1 inch punch, not to my knowledge. Flying kick, nope. Nunchaku, nope. Shirtless, again it's SNK, so tracksuit, see previous. Physique, presumably, but it's difficult to tell from how little art exists of him. Dragons, he has a dragon shaped fireball. Nationality, Korean weirdly enough. Bowl cut, nope. Nose flick, nope. Battle cries, only sometimes, but that does count. Bonus points, Lee is part of his name. His intro is a nod to Enter the Dragon. Total points, 4. One character you wouldn't immediately think of as an homage, given that he predates Bruce's existence by about 400 years, is Maxi from Soul Calibur. Jeet Kune Do, again predates its creator by 400 years. 1 inch punch, not to my knowledge. Flying kick, particularly in his critical finish. Nunchaku, his weapon of choice. Shirtless, specifically with the same pants as martial law. Physique, the best in-game rendition. Tracksuit, once again predates it by 400 years. Dragons, the aforementioned pants, and his critical edge has a flaming dragon in it. Nationality, no, Japanese. Bowl cut, no, closer to an Elvis cut. Nose flick, in an intro animation. Battle cries, not as consistently as the others, but he does have them, yes. Total points, 7. Another unexpected one is Mortal Kombat's Johnny Cage. Primarily a Jean-Claude Van Damme tribute, he also has a lot of Bruce Lee aspects. Jeet Kune Do, in Deadly Alliance before Liu Kang reclaimed it in Deception. 1 inch punch, nope. Flying kick, he did one in MK Annihilation. Even Liu Kang didn't do one in those movies. Nunchaku, his weapon throughout the 3D era. Shirtless, his primary from MK1 to 9 and an alternate in X and 11. Physique, in MK9, yes. Tracksuit, he's not that committed to the bit. Dragons, his film career includes Dragon Fist, Dragon Fist 2, Son of Dragon Fist, and Exiting the Dragon of Death. Nationality, white American, no. Bowl cut, again not that dedicated. Nose flick, before fighting Kano in MK9. Battle cries, no. Bonus points, he's an actor. He does the index finger phone fingers in MK9. Total points, 9. Yeah, the white man out-Bruced Honfu. I know Honfu is a Bruce and Jackie Chan fusion, but even so. Another late addition, and one you might not expect, is Jam Kurodeberry from Guilty Gear. Thank you ABI for forcing me to say that name over and over again until I finally got it right. Who draws on numerous martial arts, but draws a lot from Bruce. Jeet Kune Do, one of the styles that makes up her own. 1 inch punch, her ZK special. Flying kick, yes. Nunchaku, not to my knowledge. Shirtless, nope. Physique, probably not. Tracksuit, no. Dragons, not to my knowledge. Nationality, Chinese. Bowl cut, clearly not. Nose flick, an idle taunt. Battle cries, yes. Total points, 6. Reiji from Kakuto Chojin Bakali Brutal is a name I'm sure will come up, thanks ABI for pointing this out too. Jeet Kune Do, yes. 1 inch punch, not as far as I know. Flying kick, yes. Nunchaku, no. Shirtless, in both costumes. Physique, not bad for 2002. Tracksuit, no. Dragons, not to my knowledge. Nationality, no, Japanese. Bowl cut, it looks enough like it to evoke Bruce, but it's not really the same. Nose flick, no. Battle cries, selectively yes. Total points, 6. Kim Woo from Killer Instinct is the closest we have to a female Bruce Lee homage. She fights with Nunchaku, has a diagonal flying kick, and dragon spirits accompany her. But that's it. Jackie Bryant from Virtua Fighter is probably the most well-known non-Chinese Jeet Kune Do user in fighting games, but aside from that, the nose flick and the flying kick, he has nothing. There's also Dragon from Way of the Warrior. He'd probably do well, but delaying this video further just to get 3DO emulation set up is where I draw the line. I can't be arsed. Screw him. Another one you might not expect is Chie Satonaka from Persona 4. She may not originally be from a fighting game, but she has appeared in 3 of them, so I'm including her. It's my video, I do as I please, and I please where I go. Jeet Kune Do. She fights with a general self-taught kung fu style, so no. 1-inch punch. Not to my knowledge. Flying kick. In the arena games, yes. Nunchaku. She has a pink pair hanging in her room in the arena games, but she never uses them. Not even for a gag. Shirtless. She's a girl, so no. Physique. She's a 17-year-old girl, so no. Tracksuit. Ironically, only in P4 Golden and Dancing, not in the fighting games. However, her base persona Tomoe wears it, Chie's iconic winter jacket has the same pattern but in green and yellow, and 2 colour palettes are yellow and black in the fighting games. Dragons. Her introduction is through Yosuke breaking her Trial of the Dragon DVD, but for real, her arena nickname is Spunky Dragon with Deadly Legs. Nationality. Japanese, so no. Bowl cut. In all appearances but the epilogue. Nose flick. A victory pose in P4 Arena. Battle cries. Not normally, but she does have this one. Bonus points. One of her battle quotes is
"Don't think, feel."
which is from Enter the Dragon. In BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, she quotes Bruce's
"Be water, my friend,"
as "Be like water, my friends,"
in her Astral Heat. She also calls out
"Fist of Fury,"
which I don't think needs explaining. She has a poster of Bruce 3 in her room, which seems to be based on the image you've been seeing in the Jeet Kune Do title card throughout this video. Total points, 11. The Japanese schoolgirl has also out-Bruced Honfu. This is just embarrassing. And there we have it. So let's rank them all and see who is the most Bruce. In 15th place we have the embarrassingly un-Bruce-like Honfu on par with the technicality twins Kim Woo and Jackie Bryant with 4 points apiece. He's basically an honourable mention. Once again, this is just embarrassing. And Lee Daolong is also here. In 12th, we have Reiji and Jam with 6. In 10th place, we have Maxi with 7. 9th place is secured by Johnny Cage with 9. In 8th place is Chie Satonaka with 11. 7th place goes to Kim Dragon with 12. In 6th, we have Liu Kang with 13. In 5th is Long with 14. In 4th, we have Forest Law with 15. In 3rd place is Martial Law with 16. 2nd place goes to Fei Long with 17. And finally, in 1st place with a grand total of 18 points is Jan Lee. I'll be honest, this isn't how I expected things to turn out. I knew he'd be high of course, but I expected Long or Fei Long to win. But I'm happy to see Jan and Marshall getting so high up. Are there any other Bruce Lee homages I missed? Any points I missed? Be sure to let me know so I can update the pinned comment. And while you're down there, let me know if you'd like to see more videos like this, maybe covering Native American fighters or luchadors. Who in all of fighting games is the most lucha? The mucha lucha, if you will. If you liked this video, then please share it around. My sub growth has completely stunted and I don't know what else to do about it. Or you can give me money, that works too. Today's recommended playlist is Style Selects by ABI of Sugar Punch, which talks about the depictions of various martial arts in fighting games, and Jeet Kune Do is on the list of upcoming episodes, and if you become a Sugar Punch patron, you can vote to have the episode come sooner. I'm just saying.